Hello, Inglês for Professor is back, finally, at long last, and this week we're going to start talking about punctuation for the very first time. But before, I want to welcome you back to our channel and tell you that we're going to be recording videos now. By we, I mean I. I'm going to be recording videos again every 15 days now. Now, I'm not going to promise to do them every week anymore because life gets in the way, you know. So it's going to be every 15 days, so we're having this video today, but to apologize for my disappearance, I am going to be back next week. So next week we're going to do punctuation video 2 about the apostrophes as well. So today we're going to talk about apostrophes, half of it. Next week we're going to keep on talking about the apostrophes, but then I'm going to disappear for a couple of weeks and I come back. So every 15 days from now on. Okay? So I've already recorded a 5-minute, 52-second, extremely boring video on half the rules of the apostrophe, and I'll leave you to it. This is the first video here on the channel about punctuation, and I'd like to start with a quote. I love quotes, and this is from a book by Lynn Truss, British writer, on punctuation called Eat, Shoots and Leaves. She says, "To those who care about punctuation, a sentence such as 'Thank God it's Friday,' without the apostrophe, which should be right here, rouses feelings not only of despair, but of violence." Of course, she's being funny here, but it is true that we study very little punctuation and we teach very little punctuation, if at all. And it is my opinion that we should be both studying more punctuation and teaching more punctuation. Today we'll start talking about the apostrophe, the first punctuation mark in alphabetical order. And we're going to talk about two main uses of the apostrophe today, when it's used to stand in for something that's missing and also when it's used to make a word possessive. We're not going to finish talking about the apostrophe used to make words possessive. We're just going to start that. We're continuing next week. And also next week we're going to talk about a rarer use of the apostrophe, which is to make words plural. Okay? So today, standing in for something that's missing, making words possessive. So here we go. Standing in for something that's missing. That's basically contractions. Yeah? So when we say can't, shouldn't, I, doesn't, won't, etc., we're going to use the apostrophe to stand in for the letters that are missing. The N and the O here, the O here, the A here, and so on. Yeah? So instead of those letters that are missing, we're going to have the apostrophe there. Yeah? For missing letters in general, not only in contractions, but also when we say tell them, for example. So this is them, cause instead of because. So you have the apostrophe standing in for B and E. And then cause with the apostrophe is different from cause without the apostrophe, which means reason, rock and roll, etc. So one standing in for the A, one standing in for the D. Yeah? And then missing numbers as well. So when we refer to the decades, for instance, the 50s, the 60s, the 90s, we're going to have the apostrophe standing in for 1 and 9. But no apostrophe here between the 0 and the letter S. But this is plural, and we'll talk more about it in the next video, in the 5th video. The apostrophe then used to make a word possessive. We're going to start very simple. Yeah? So basically, with singular words, like when we say Igor's book, Nicole's daddy, and so on. So Igor and Nicole are singular words, singular nouns, and therefore we only use apostrophe S to indicate possession. Yeah? When the word is plural, however, but irregular, so plural without S, plural words that don't end with S, then the same thing. We're going to have apostrophe S, children's day, men's room, women's room, and so on. However, when plural words end with S, then we're just going to use an apostrophe, as are the cases of teacher's room, ladies' room, kids' clothes, women's clothes, and so on. So it's plural, it's the whole group of teachers. It's not just the room of one lonely teacher. Yeah? It's the room of all the teachers, so teacher's room. Same thing for ladies' room, kids' clothes. Okay? So if it ends with S and it's plural, just the apostrophe. However, when names end in S, or when words end in S, but they're not plural, then it really depends on what you're using as a source, because there are style books and style guides that are going to suggest that you stop at the apostrophe and you just say James Carr and Douglas Betts. And there are others that are going to say you should use apostrophe and s. Others are going to say it's optional. So that's my take on it. I would say that if the word ends in s, but it's not plural, then it's your choice. My personal choice is to use the extra s. Yeah? So I only don't use the extra s, the apostrophe s, when the word ends in s because it's plural. Yeah? When the s does not indicate plural, apostrophe s. Yeah, that's my suggestion anyway, but you can choose in this fourth case here. All right. Mignon Fogarty, who is better known as Grammar Girl, the professor in charge of my favorite podcast on grammar, Grammar Girl's Quick and Dirty Tips for Better Writing, she also says that there are two ways to make words that end with S possessive. She also says that style books make different recommendations, but she prefers to leave off the final S. So she says, I prefer to pick one style and stick with it, which is exactly my recommendation too, but she leaves off the final S. I prefer to use the apostrophe S when words end with S but are not plural. Okay? So again, singular words, apostrophe S. Plural words that don't end with S, apostrophe S. If the plural words end with S, just the apostrophe. And the more complicated one is when names end in S, but they are not plural. Grammar Girl would say, don't use the extra S. I prefer to use it, but it's ultimately a matter of choice. So you pick one and stick with it. That's it. Wasn't that bad, was it? Thank you very much for watching this comeback video. And I'll see you again next week to talk about punctuation again, but this time apostrophes part 2. All right? Happy New Year. I think I can still say that. After all, it's the first time we've met in 2017. Have a great one. May 2017 be an absolutely fantastic year for us all. See you next week. Bye-bye.